Hi, I'm Lisa with Ivy Lane Interiors, and today's project was a free Facebook find. Now, I don't normally do free because a lot of times free means it's in really bad shape. It needs a lot of repairs, but the lines on this buffet were just too good to pass up. I loved it. So you can see it has two areas on the sides where it opens up the doors, and I have some area for cutlery. There's 4 drawers down the middle for additional storage. Really cool lines. Now, when I picked it up, they were renovating the house, so they were using it as a work table. So there's paint on the top. There's some pretty good stains on the top as well, some veneer damage on the side. So I decided, okay, I'm just going to start stripping it and see what I can find. For this project, I'm using Clean Strip, their premium stripper, and I'm just going to put it all over. It's kind of a jelly kind of substance. I'm just going to let it set, and I'm going to use my putty knife. I'm going to take off the finish. I'm going to use some mineral spirits along with some steel wool just to try to get off any of that extra residue. I did the same thing for the drawers, stripping them to see what I have to work with underneath. As you can see, I've got some, some stains right here, and I think the people used it as like a workstation maybe. So there's paint all over it, lots of stains, but I'm gonna go ahead and strip it just to kind of see what condition it is. I'll probably have to paint it, but I always like to kind of check just in case it's salvageable. So you can see there's a lot of paint in the corner, but I'll at least clean it up. That's got to come off even before I paint it anyway, but it may not be salvageable, but that's okay. I'm at least going to strip it and see. So even though I had a lot of stains on the top, the stripping did take some of the stains off. I still was left with like a ring, but all the paint came off, and a few of those stains did come off as well. Now I'm going to get a really good sanding and see what kind of condition this wood is in. Okay, I was gluing down the veneer, but it didn't work. And so I started kind of pushing underneath it, and the veneer was super loose. So I just got my 5-in-1 tool and started gently going underneath it, and this whole piece came off. So I will go back with either an iron or my steamer and get the rest of that off. But this is real wood underneath, and so I'll sand that down, and then that can be painted. So anyway, there you go. So now I'm going to use my steamer to get the remaining bits off of the base. This little steamer is just, I'll have it linked in the description, but it's surprising how often I use it. I use it to loosen veneer. I use it to loosen the joints on drawers if I have to repair them. So it removes glue. It can remove Bondo. Really helpful little tool. There's still an area on the base that I need to do a little glue up on, so I'm going to use these wood glue syringes. And they're super helpful to get to the really fine areas where a normal applicator wouldn't get to. So you're just going to fill it up, release a little bit of the pressure, and then apply that tip. And then you're able to just get into those little fine areas and apply your wood glue. The cutlery drawers was in pretty good shape. I had a little bit of area that I needed to do some sanding on just to make it fresh and clean. I did the same with the interior. I am going to line that later, but I want to make sure everything has a nice fresh surface, so I'm going to give it a nice sanding. Once I had the top and the doors stripped, I did apply a little bit of stain to see what it would look like. And honestly, it was unremarkable. It just didn't look good. And this wood didn't have a very interesting grain pattern. It just didn't pop. And so I decided it's going to look much better and make much more sense to paint this piece out. I think it will look a lot better. So that's what I decided to do. I know I had to do some work by going ahead and stripping the top, but I had a lot of paint stuck on the top that needed to be stripped off anyway. So it was a little extra work, yes, but that's okay. I decided it's going to look better painted. I'm using Ben Shellac primer. It is a solvent-based primer. You can see I'm using it on a paper plate because a lot of times I just throw away my applicators after I use it because it is solvent-based. It has to be cleaned up with either denatured alcohol or ammonia. So it's kind of messy, but I usually just kind of use a roller that's kind of on its last leg and I apply it. And then once I apply my coats, then I just throw it away. The paint I'm using is called Salamander by Benjamin Moore. It's a beautiful dark green. Wait till you see it. It's fabulous. I'm just using a paintbrush to cut in, and then I'm using a very fine microfiber roller to actually do all of the rolling. You can see as I'm doing this drawer, you really don't necessarily have to tape things off if you have the right brush. So this one allows you to kind of fan out those bristles and to get into those little details. I decided to go ahead and line the shelves and the drawers. I found this really cool peel and stick wallpaper that is going to go with the new hardware that I chose. I'm going to make my measurements, take it to my cutting board, and then I'm going to apply it. You can see on this one, I actually applied it the wrong direction. So I had to take it off and reapply it. But it just adds a nice little detail. And along the front edge, I did go ahead and just sand it a little bit. That way I made sure that it won't come up. Now it's time to reattach the hinges. I always take my doors off. I know a lot of people don't, but sometimes hinge day can be frustrating on vintage furniture. But a lot of times I will replace the screws because sometimes they're just stripped. And to be honest, it's just easier to replace those screws, but you just got to be patient. Sometimes you just have to unscrew things and then screw them back in, loosen screws just to kind of get it to where it will sit correctly. Okay, I'm getting ready to attach the hardware to the doors, and you can see that the hardware is going to be too long, so it will stick out. It's fine on the drawers, but I'm going to have to take this and cut it down. So let me show you how I do it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the screw, and you can see this door is really thin, so I'm going to have to cut it down quite a bit because the door is only about that thin. And so I'm going to cut it down to about right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these wire strippers, and if you can see right here, there's a thing that says insert screw here. And so not only does this strip wires, but you can also use it to cut screws. So I'm going to insert my screw here, put it there, and then you just squeeze down on it. Got to clamp it really hard. Okay, so you hear, I don't know if you heard that click. And then I just kind of wiggle it because I got to get off the part that I cut off. And there's my screw that I have cut down. So let's do it to the other side and then we'll adhere it. Okay, the last step in attaching the door is I need to attach this door stop to the outside or inside of this door. I got painted over. So what I'm going to do, which worked for the other side, is I'm going to go ahead and put it in where it belongs. I had to make sure that this was all the way up. And then I'm just going to take some sewing chalk. So this is just some chalk that I've used in sewing, and I'm going to go around the edge of this door catch here. I'm just going to outline it with the chalk. Okay, now I'm going to shut the door and see if it will transfer the chalk to the door. And there it is. You see it? So there's the outline right there. So now I can adhere it. So let's look back at the before. This is such a cool piece. I loved the curved lines, so much storage. Obviously, it needed a lot of work, needed a little bit of love, but here's the finished product. Can you believe it? It's beautiful. Can we talk about that hardware? Is that not amazing? It just makes this piece, modernizes it. Now, I ended up selling this for $600. So I got it for free. I had money in the hardware and in the drawer liners, a little bit in supplies. But I was pretty happy. This was a little bit earlier in my furniture flipping journey. So I felt that was a really good profit margin for me. What do you think? Think I could have gotten more? Maybe. I think today I could have gotten more, but at the time I was really happy with it. Thanks so much for watching. Tell me what you think.